Hello, hello, hello everybody, and thank you so much for joining me in the first of the AirSim3D C-560XL tutorials for the X-Plane Flight Simulator. It's so good to have you aboard today. I appreciate your company. Today I'll be flying a couple of our country-themed liveries, and to learn about what country theme means, please look at our C-560XL outside walkabout informational. Much more on them in that informational. So as we begin this series, I'd like to first take the time to start with some very friendly advice and guidance, which, if you agree to follow, will result in your having a reliable, consistent, predictable, and frustration-free experience as you fly this 95% replicated, 99% bug-free aircraft. And this holds true no matter what your current X-Plane flight simulator experience level is or how many other aircraft you have experience flying. So here we go. First, please set aside your assumptions that you may have about how this aircraft should work when operating this aircraft. So you do not think that just because other aircraft do things in a certain way or that's how it's done elsewhere, that things therefore will automatically be the same in this aircraft. We are not trying to be difficult. It is simply because, and since this is a 95 replicated aircraft, that this aircraft by definition will be different. I hope you'll agree with that. So as an example, the C-560XL has a power-to-weight ratio that is roughly 5 times higher when compared to something like a really big A380. So if you try to fly the C-560XL like the 380 or the 737 or any other aircraft or business jet out there which are modeled to use full power on takeoff, then not only is that not how real 560XL pilots fly this aircraft, but given time, you will burn up the 560's engines. Now that's not to say that what you are doing in those aircraft is wrong, but just keep in mind that each aircraft is different. And this difference also extends to things like lighting and shading and the grungy artwork in this aircraft. You are probably used to seeing very clean, Photoshop painted cockpits and interiors. And that's fine. But real aircraft are not pristine, flat, 2D painted objects with fake pools of lighting. Ours is different because we only use real 3D lights and it has grunge and grime and scratches everywhere just like real objects. Or if you do not like doing things in the cockpit but instead are used to clicking the AP on, monitoring the jet as it flies a GPS route automatically for 10 hours, then you will find this aircraft different in that it requires you to be active and to live by checklists. That's a totally different experience. So please approach this highly replicated aircraft with a curious mindset. That's all we're asking, and be open to learning how this steady level aircraft operates. And you may also have to unlearn some behavior, like the aforementioned full gas takeoff scenario we just talked about. So if you find you need help or clarification something, please contact us on our support forum. Always there and glad to help. Second, we acknowledge that everyone has their own learning style. That said, we strongly recommend viewing the tutorials in their numbered order because each tutorial builds on knowledge provided in previous ones, especially anything in chapters 1 and 2. We hope that learning and studying is part of your journey as, after all, this is a study level aircraft. As examples, if we say something like, now set your FD pressure in some later flight focused tutorial, then we expect you to know how and where to do that based on the previous tutorial's learnings. We just can't repeat everything all the time. And of course, we don't want you to black out and virtually die as you pass Angels 10 having not set your FD pressure correctly. So please don't die on us virtually, okay? So help us do that. Third, and related to learning styles, everyone has their own style. We acknowledge that. Some like reading manuals, some TLDR folks are too bothered with that, some are more visual learners. We get all that. So in addition to these video tutorials, you can find the Pilot Operating Handbook or POH on our website. Now about this, it is probably unlike any other POH you have seen. We understand that. First, it is dense, and that is intentional and for good reasons. The real POH is over 300 pages thick, no joke. We have tried very hard to edit its contents down to size. You should have seen how long the first edit was, okay? Alright, so it's dense because we wanted to empower you with detail and not have to come to us every time you wanted to learn or do something. Next, you'll notice that it's colorful, it has high contrast, it's very hyperlinked, and uses a conversational writing style. Now we've heard comments like, "This really hurts my eyes," while the page is rapidly scrolled for dramatic effect. Now, if this very popular reviewer had just been curious and open-minded enough to simply ask us, "Hey guys, what's your thinking behind this very unusual POH design?" without all the need for all the scrolling drama, then he'd have learned from us that the high contrast and colors are meant to be inclusive for those with reading and sight accessibility needs. We wanted to do our small part to be as inclusive to everyone wanting to read our POH. And that's the lesson here, folks. We do not do random in this aircraft. We do not take the easy way out. We will push the envelope. We won't do things just because that's how others do it, simply to conform. So the summary of this point and our simple request is this. Again, don't assume, but please approach flying this aircraft and using its tools and assets with a learning mindset. Reach out to us for clarification about anything. We're always here and ready to help make your customer experience great. So moving on, third, we keep the POH up to date, so there are no PDF versions lying around to try to keep up with, and it's available on demand whenever you need it. It is the single source of truth. Next, no one has said that you need to read it all. We recommend reading the first 1 or 2 pages for orientation and the hyperlinked index, which leads us to the last point. And this is actually the best part. We encourage you to simply use your browser page search to get to the topics you want to learn about quickly. But hey, if your learning style is to read through things, then feel free to do that. It's up to you and to each their own. And finally, a request to please cut us some slack for some of the screen stutters, the jagged shadows, the bad ambient occlusion, shading and shimmering. That's really purely simulator related as X-Plane 12 moves out of its beta stages and matures. As we make these videos, you'll find that our earlier numbered versions, created in earlier XP12 beta versions, get better in later numbered tutorials as XP12 matures. You may not even see some XP12 features that are still not even available at the time that we recorded these tutorials. But be assured, we are committed to updating the aircraft as things settle down in XP12. I mean, seriously, we had access to the early bits, and looking at this same jet in those early alpha versions, that gave us some real heartburn. So, we fully expect things to get better, sharper, less shimmery, etc. So our advice right now is not to let known XP12 beta issues interfere or distract you at this point, and we fully expect things to all look outstanding in the long run anyway, so focus on learning about the aircraft's functionality in these early stages as you have fun flying this virtually bug-free, highly replicated, study-level aircraft. Alright, and so with those caveats and provisos, we invite you to begin watching our AirSim3D C-560XL tutorials. Please again, view them in their numbered order since latter ones build on knowledge provided in earlier numbered ones. I'm really excited for the journey and discovery and the hours of bug-free flying that await you. So we'll talk to you soon in the next tutorial. Bye.